To creative cooking. Today we're making Southwest hot pockets. Oh yeah, there's something like those egg rolls that you get from Chillis, but not quite the same recipe. This is just my own little twist on that, and they're a little bit bigger too. I think you're really gonna like this recipe a lot, so check it out. Now before you do anything, you want to make sure you have some taco seasoning or Southwestern seasoning, and this is the recipe for it. I recommend that you make your own. Not only do you control the ingredients, it's going to cost you a lot less money. And it has things like chili powder, and you can use chipotle. You can use pretty much anything you want. And when it comes to paprika, you can use sweet paprika, you can use smoked hot Hungarian, use whatever you like. And when you're done, put it in a jar, because you'll only use about 2, maybe 3 tablespoons of that seasoning for this one recipe. And then after that, make tacos, make chili. Now, to prepare the chicken, I usually like to trim the fat and then cut them into fillets like you see here. And I want them to completely cover that pan. I want them to lay flat, and there's a reason for this. I want to create as much surface area as possible. I want them to cook very evenly, and they're going to cook a good long time. So after coating them with a little bit of olive oil, we season them with the seasoning, and you want to season both sides. Best way to do that, sprinkle some around, flip them around, rub the oil, rub the seasonings into it, and when you're done, you just lay it flat just like you see here. And now what I'm doing is I'm putting on some dry breadcrumbs. These are fine, unseasoned breadcrumbs, but they're not there to make it crispy. No, that's not what they're there for at all. They're there to hold the butter. You see, we're going to take some butter that we've put in the freezer. We're going to run it through this cheese grater, okay? And what that does is it's going to spread butter out that's cold, along with the chicken that's cold. And then when we put it in the oven, that butter's going to melt. And when it does, it's going to attach itself to those breadcrumbs on top. So between the dry spices and the breadcrumbs, we're going to have a nice coating over this chicken that will keep it from drying out. You'll see. And I do the same thing with my, not my Southwestern, the Cajun seasoning. And it comes out fabulous. Believe me when I tell you. Oh yes. So while that's baking, you want to go ahead and start on the rest of the ingredients that go inside of these wraps. So for that, I'm using a half of a red bell pepper. I'm also using a green bell pepper. Of course, I'm not going to show me chopping all these peppers, right? We don't need to do that. We have a red onion too. A red onion or a yellow onion, it doesn't really matter because you won't actually see it. But if you were making a salsa, you'd want to use the red onion, okay, just for looks. And you're going to chop that up nice and fine. Again, it's about a half an onion that we're going to use. And I decided to go ahead and get a jalapeno. I really wanted a jalapeno pepper in this, so I picked one up, just one. And this is how you cut them up. This is the best way to do it, to de-seed it and chop it up in fine little pieces. Okay? And you're just going to put all that aside. Now, for a binder, we're going to use cream cheese, and we're going to use roughly equal parts of this softened cream cheese. It's not the one in the block, but it's not the one with the egg whites either. Okay, it's just been whipped up a little bit. And an equal amount of sour cream. And the reason for this is we want a binder for all the vegetables. Okay, we don't want this to be watery. So the cheese and the sour cream are really going to add something to this sandwich, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it's kind of like a sandwich. So go ahead, put all your chopped veggies in there. And then we're going to use 1 can of rinsed black beans. You want to rinse them off real good, get that black liquid out of the can. And do the same with a can of corn. You don't have to rinse the corn, just drain it. All right? And give it a good mix. But you're going to add a little bit of lemon juice because we want to add some kind of acidity. And I say it's okay to use this juice that's in those little plastic jugs. It works pretty good. Besides, when's the last time you tried to squeeze out a lime? Don't get much juice out of them. So go ahead, give that a little mix. But then we have one more ingredient that was an afterthought. I had an avocado that was getting pretty ripe. So I said, well, I'll just scoop that out and mix it in, see how it turns out. And it turned out pretty good. So If you need to use an old avocado, it's not really old, but you know, they ripen very quickly on the kitchen counter. Go ahead and toss it in, along with a little bit of salt. You can also add some pepper, maybe some cayenne. And yeah, just mash it all up and mix it in. Now bear in mind, you can make this a day in advance so that you don't have to do it on the day you make the dish. And it's a pretty good side dish out of itself. And here's what your chicken's going to look like after 45 minutes. You'll notice it's not crispy, it's not burnt, but yet it was in there for 45 minutes. Check it out. So it's very well cooked. And what we're going to do is we're going to shred it. I don't want to chop it, I just want to shred it. I want to create as much surface area as possible. And lo and behold, you see all that liquid on the bottom of the pan? That's seasoned butter along with juices from the chicken. By the time you shred it and mix it all up, it absorbs it, it reabsorbs it like a sponge. So the chicken just comes out really juicy and delicious. And people say you should never overcook chicken. Well, here we go. This is cheddar jack cheese. You could use cheddar, but I selected this as my cheese because it melts extremely well and it has those little bits of peppers in there, so it's a little mildly hot. So it adds another layer of flavor to this thing. But most importantly, it does melt well. So we're going to go ahead and put down one layer. Okay, now, and I just want to point something else out too. You could make this like a quesadilla. Instead of rolling it up like I'm going to do, you could just spread it out halfway like the half moon shape and fold it over. But we're going to do it this way. So we're going to put a layer of that salsa with the creaminess to it. And then we're going to put on a nice generous portion of that seasoned chicken. That chicken's really good, by the way. It really is. I mean, I ended up like eating all the leftover chicken when I was done making these. And I expect that you probably would too. All right, and then once you put that in there and you kind of get it in the shape you want, just go ahead and top that off with another layer of cheese. You can never have too much cheese, right? So anyway, put it all together. You don't want to overstuff it, otherwise you're going to have a hard time doing this. But go ahead and fold it up as if you were making a burrito or something like it. Or is that more like the shape of a chimichanga? Come to think of it, one of these days I'm going to make chimichangas. What do you think? Chimichangas would be good. Pulled beef chimichanga with refried beans. That'd be good. So go ahead, fold this up. You want to make it kind of flat. You want to press it down with your hand. You're making a pocket, not a burrito, all right? And then when you're done, I made 3. There were 3 of us in the house, so I went ahead and made 3 of these. Put them on a baking sheet and put them down seam side up for now, because what you're going to do is take some vegetable oil, in my case I'm using canola, and just brush it on. Brush it all over, down the sides and along the edges, and then flip them over and coat that side. That's going to be the finished side, okay? And you'll just want to put some of that oil on there. And what's going to happen when you put this in the oven, it's basically going to fry it, but they won't be greasy, you see, because you're only putting a thin layer of oil on the outside. So after you pop these in the oven, they're only going to be in there maybe 12 minutes. Just keep an eye on them. And you see how that's got that nice little browning going on top? That's it. Don't cook them any further. So I'll cut one open so you can see what it looks like inside. You can see all that steam coming up. But yet, everything is still holding together really well. That's because of that cheese sauce we made. So there you have it. I hope you give this a try. And I hope you come back each week for more great videos made for people who like to cook. Until then, bon appetit.